Hey guys, welcome back to the EntreLeadership podcast. I am joined in studio with one of our speakers at this year's Summit event. We're going to be up in Denver, Colorado, and it's going to be incredible, May 18th through the 21st. If you haven't gotten your tickets, I'm sorry. You should have. You're not going to get to come. No, maybe there might be a few left. Get in touch with us, and we'll try to set it up. One of our speakers is Elizabeth Dixon, and she's the CEO of Trilith Foundation and the founder and president of Slumber Sleepwear, and was a leader in the hospitality and service at Chick-fil-A. She's written 2 books, The Power of the Customer Experience and The Strength of Purpose. She's going to be talking at Summit about the power of the customer experience, how important it is for the folks on the front line, among others, just to get the idea that the customer not only needs to do a transaction, but have an experience, right?
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So good to have you.
It's great to be
here.
So
how long were you at Chick-fil-A?
20 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you were right in the thick of it as they were actually building what is, an iconic customer experience, for sure, to where all of us that look in from the outside, and of course we've got at Ramsey a bunch of connections to the internal group there as well, but just looking in from the outside is pretty impressive. And so how did you guys build that, and what did you see as the key elements to create that? Because it's not only did you build it, but it's replicatable.
Yes.
Where every store that I go in, I get that experience.
Consistency. Well, it started before my time in hospitality at Chick-fil-A. Mark Mortakis was the gentleman who was tasked to really create what we called hospitality. And Dan, who's now chairman, and then Truett, who was our founder, they really thought, it was in 2008 when it was a really hard time, they really thought it could be a moment to differentiate. And Hort Schultze, who was a great friend of Chick-fil-A, had said, you guys need to elevate yourselves. He had told Dan at the time, you guys are the best of a lousy lot, basically queen of the pigs. And so it was a chance to say, what if we could use what actually makes us special, which is our people, and differentiate ourselves in this quick service fast food space. So it was before my time. I came once a lot of it was established.
So you were still the implementation, because we got 140,000 team members, and you're trying to get them to create a customer experience. What's the magic sauce to doing that?
Well, a lot of the magic comes down to the operator who's running the restaurant. Like, that is the magic. We would have so many companies come and say, what's your training program? Can you just give us the training module? It's like, no. I mean, we can, but it starts way further back with mindset, with culture, with knowing how you truly want to be differentiated. So for Chick-fil-A, the local operator model is a huge piece, because that operator is setting the culture for that restaurant.
So for the small business person listening to us right now, the owner, the leader of the organization, it starts with them.
100%.
And it's not simply buy 3 books on customer service, make all the people on the front line read them.
Right.
Or watch this video
on
customer service, all the people on the front line. No, you got to get it inside of you, and then it becomes almost a demand of excellence all the way down to the front.
Yes, because you get what you model, create, and allow. Like, you will get in the culture the things that you model, the things that you intentionally design, incentivize, prioritize, and what you allow. The things you allow to happen, everyone's going to believe are okay.
Yeah, and under the allow bucket, there's 2 things. There's things we're not going to allow.
That's right.
And, if you do that, you don't get to stay.
Right.
Because that's not who we are. We always say around here, if you want to be a we, this is what we allow.
Yes.
And so that's accountability.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
And then, but there's also the thing that you guys did a great job of, and I've watched it and I've heard about it as well, that you gave permission for people to freelance a little bit on the positive side.
Yes. And a lot of that came from Horst also. So when he started the Ritz-Carlton, he allowed $2,000 per employee, or $2,000 per customer, really, per day, that they could spend to make something right. And he's been a mentor of mine for years. And I said, Horst, what's the most that was spent? Because I was thinking it'd be like $2,065, like someone broke it, He said, no, the most that was ever spent was $800. I said, why'd you make it so high? And he said 2 reasons. 1, lifetime value of the customer. And he rattled off in the moment. I know my average age of my customer is 40. They're going to travel with me till they're 80. They spend this much per year. He knew the lifetime value. And then he said, we had to make the limit high enough so that the employees didn't feel like they were going to get in trouble. And so I knew that that would give them plenty of freedom. I said, what happened with the $800? He said it was at one of their locations. A couple was on their honeymoon. The husband lost his wedding band in the sand or somewhere. They thought it might be the sand. And they're at dinner and they're bawling, crying. And the server is probably thinking, like, what do I do in this moment? This couple is crying at dinner. And finally, the server asked, and they said, we lost our wedding band. We were on the beach all day. And that server went out with a few others. They bought 2 more metal detectors to add to the ones that they had, scoured the beach, found the ring.
No way.
And presented it at breakfast the next morning. That was the most that was ever spent,
Wow.
but it was a high enough limit.
That makes you, my eyes leak. I mean,
Right?
that's powerful.
It's powerful.
There's a lot of rich stories that are great. That's a great one, though.
Because he created a culture where everyone knew that it was okay. They were allowed to invest money to make things right. Whether the hotel caused the problem, in this story, they didn't cause that problem, but they owned it. When we can own the wrong, we actually create a bond with people and we can make it right.
Yeah, it doesn't. And a lot of times it's the actual cost is very low.
Yeah. But the value.
You give away a couple of free sandwiches at Chick-fil-A, actual cost of goods sold is not a big deal.
That's right.
But the customer impression is 8x or 10x what the actual cost is that you do something to make it right.
100%. But as you know, it starts with a mindset to be able to have that kind of generosity. And it starts with the owner.
Yes. So what are the top mistakes companies make, particularly small businesses, if we can address those in your mind, with customer service? What's the absolute no-no thing?
Well, I think a big mistake that's often made is not selecting for customer experience, like not thinking about the selection of people and the team for what kind of experience they want to create.
So don't put Eeyore on the front line.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. But I think a lot of times, especially in smaller businesses, we can get into the season where it's like we just need a warm, semi-friendly person who can do a decent job quickly. The urgency overtakes. So I think selection is a big piece. I also think onboarding. It's often missed that onboarding the first 8 hours of someone's new career is focused on here's how you clock in and out and here's where the restrooms are and all of these tasks. But that's the greatest opportunity to align people to vision and mission and purpose, the stuff that's actually going to ignite their heart. So I think that's an easy thing to do. And then another thing is you have to constantly evolve your experience, because the experience is the people, it's the process, it's the place, it's the product. It's really all of that intertwined. And so specifically around the process, how often are the leadership and business owners going through their own process, ordering their own product, registering, and seeing where the pain points are so that they can remove those pain points? And that's just a game of moving the bottleneck. You're constantly kind of shifting it. But if you just set it and forget it and you rest on the design you did 5 years ago or maybe even 5 months ago, then there's probably some pain in the process that your customer is experiencing, and you could make it better.
That's something as simple as go to your own website and try to order something and see how frustrating it is.
100%. Do it every 6 months.
Yeah, that's just, I have a certain level of anger for that. I can't stand, we spend so much money on this, and this is what it does.
Yes,
oh my
but
God.
you have to get that detailed because excellence happens in the details. Like the more excellent that we want to become, we have to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the details.
I'm interested to hear the answer to this. You said that you can tell if a restaurant is good when you walk in the door before you sit down. How?
It starts in the parking lot if it's clean. And that was a big thing for Truett. And that's where Dan picked up picking up trash. I was 21 when I took my first trip with him and a group of others, and I watched him start picking up trash. I'm like, what's he doing? What's happening? Why is he picking up trash? By the third restaurant visit, I was like, I need to pick up trash first. Like, I need to get to that trash before he does. And I asked him, I said, why are you picking up trash? He said, my dad taught me it's my ticket into the restaurant. I need to find a piece of trash, throw it away, and that's my ticket to get in the restaurant. The details start outside of the restaurant. And then you can tell what's the hustle, what's the feeling of the people. The more emotionally intuitive folks can kind of feel that in a space. What is the feeling of the team behind the counter? Are they hollering at each other? Are they encouraging each other? Like, what is that feeling? And, let's see, Theodore Roosevelt said it's the handshake of the host affects the taste of the roast. So you can sense that in the team dynamic, and that's going to impact how your food tastes, maybe perceptually or literally, because they have such a great team dynamic going on behind the scenes.
Will Guidara is a friend of mine. He wrote a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, a world-class restaurateur. And he always says the two biggest opportunities you have to mess up or to wow someone is from the moment they sit down at the table until something starts happening.
Yeah.
Water, food, apps, it's too slow. And from the time you're finished, leave. Don't rush people out, but be attentive at the end of the meal and give people options, because how many times are we sitting in a sit-down restaurant waiting on check?
Yes.
And it's if I have to ask for it, they're too late.
Oh, that's good. That's
and
really good.
Because I'm ready to go. Of course, that's my personality style too. But my wife's like, it's okay. No, it's time to go. It's okay. It's okay if I give them my money and now it's time to leave. It's okay. And she's afraid somebody's going to be offended, but I'm not. So we need to. The end of the meal and the beginning of the meal for him was, he said, the speed of that. The middle of the meal, most restaurants, they can get the food out at a sit-down situation.
Yes.
They can get the food out to you, and they'll check to make sure the water's full during that, and all that kind of thing. They'll be attentive during that time, but there's something about the end and the beginning that most people in a sit-down mess up. And I think that's true in a lot of businesses. I mean, if you're putting a heat and air system in someone's home, very attentive on the front end to make the sale.
Yeah.
Where's the follow-up at the end? Where's the phone call later?
Yes.
At the end of the meal.
Yes.
Where's my check?
Yes.
All of that. And I think that goes with, is the parking lot clean to me? That kind of falls in the same bucket in my head.
Yeah.
And
because those are open spaces that others, competitors are not necessarily filling. And so if you can do something that creates a relationship and a bond in those kind of open blank spaces, you become more memorable than anybody else.
How do you create the team alignment to create this customer service, to cause this impact to happen? That seems like that is a Herculean lift. Like must be a constant flow.
Yeah. I think it starts on that first day of onboarding. Like, what are we about? Like, what are we doing all of this for? And that's what captures hearts and minds. I think it was John Adams that said people don't relate to orders and direction, they relate to mission and objective. And when we can understand what the mission is that we're after, then suddenly all of the rest of the details start to make sense. But you have to repeat that. Was it mist in the pulpit is a fog in the crowd? Like, you have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it so that everyone in the organization knows this is what is most important. And I think as leaders, it can be easy to start to talk about all of the other things that need to be fixed and the tactical pieces. But if we're not constantly coming back to purpose and mission and vision, then the alignment just starts to sway and focus on maybe just what's important right today, not where we're going.
Well, I think it goes, I wonder if it doesn't go back to one of the other things that you said earlier, what you allow. Because if you sanction the opposite by just not addressing it, the opposite of what you're trying to create, then all of a sudden everything will be dumbed down to the slowest.
Yes.
To the wrong end of the bell curve. Everything will back down all the way down to that. And it's because you've sanctioned this incompetence, you've sanctioned this by not addressing it, by not holding people accountable to, look, there's only one way to do it here, surprise and delight.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, you're Eeyore, and we don't do Eeyore.
That's
I mean,
right.
you gotta constantly, it sounds like, beat the drum.
Yes. Otherwise, you get great people stuck behind a bad process. And they're constrained. And you've probably been on those phone calls or with those people before, and you're like, why do I have to do this right now? They're like, well, that's our process. Like, you have to fill that out again. You're like, what?
Yeah. why don't you just take care of this and then I don't have to think about it?
Yes.
Because I'm a thing called a customer, or at least I used to be.
Yes. And the customer has to be at the center.
Yeah.
Henry Ford always said, like, it's not the employer that pays the wages, it's the customer that pays the wages. The employer just, navigates the money in between. And if the customer's not at the center, if the customer doesn't have a seat, a proverbial seat at the decision-making table of our organizations, then we're not designing with them in mind. And it's the customer-obsessed companies that create the company-obsessed customers. When we obsess about what they want, how to remove the bottlenecks, how to make it more seamless for them, those then are the customers that can't imagine their life without us.
Good. That's so good. And I like the budget idea, budgeting a surprise and delight and saying, make them blow their mind. Your job is to blow their mind. I tell our folks all the time that, we exist for the people that are not here. Your job is to make them smile when we get up. I mean, we talk about that in staff meeting every week, just about, to the point our folks are tired of hearing it. But they know it.
Yes.
It is what we do. And if you help enough people, you don't have to worry about money. And, that's one of our core values. And so all those kinds of things that pour back into the same exact idea that the customer is, the customer's not always right, but they are always in need of service.
Yes.
And so we don't tolerate the customer misbehaving towards us either. That's another thing. But,
that's right.
But that's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about someone who innocently walks in trying to give you their money. For goodness sakes, love them well.
Yes, exactly.
It's why is this hard? But it's an intentional act. It does not occur by default.
No, it doesn't.
This is so good. Such good information. I love it. We're talking with Elizabeth Dixon. She was with Chick-fil-A for many, many years in the customer service side. Strength of Purpose is one book. The Power of the Customer Experience is another book. You can check them out. And if you are blessed to be one of the attendees at the upcoming EntreLeadership Summit in Denver, May 18 through 21, you'll get to hear more from Miss Elizabeth. Well, I'm honored to get to meet you. I look forward to working with you in Denver and in a long future together. Thanks so much. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Hey, guys, this is the EntreLeadership Podcast.